A tale of two seasons, huh? Because the first half of this season is just a continuation of what was going on last season, announcing and prepping for the White Walker invasion, and then we have the fight that had been teased from the very first moment of this show. What? That culminates, and finally that story arc is taken care of. Good job. How the hell is it then in that 3 more episodes, or if you really want to be picky, an episode and a quarter if you really, really want to pry into it. But how the hell is it that after 70 stellar episodes of this show, you then totally bastardize arguably the most important character on the show and then significantly downgrade the hero's journey of the character that arguably had the least amount to work with at the beginning of this show into the character that had the most amount that they could do, and then you just go, oh, here, ha 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 ha, we tricked you. Oh yeah, that's just great. Okay, that's just great. Because Cersei downgrading into this, we should have seen that coming, okay? Because I kept saying in my reviews for the first couple seasons, what is her goal here? Just, what the heck? Yes, she's trying to maneuver her family into a better position, but what is she herself getting out of it? As she mentions in season 2 to Sansa, she didn't want to just stay on the sidelines of things. She didn't want that. That she wanted revenge. She wanted power. She gets it, but then as Jamie points out, we've lost everyone in the process. Everyone close to us has either betrayed us or is dead. What is there left to fight for? That made sense. And yes, Daenerys in the past seasons had been shown to have a temper, okay, but Melays and Peter Dinklage and Joran, all of those people held her back. She was a kid who was striving for revenge, but then learned it's far more complicated than that. So then over the course of seasons, 4 through 6, she learns how to actually govern a place after you've deposed the previous people. And then you're telling me, oh, just because I saw one of my friends pushed off a building, even though I could have sworn that happened to her before, and that one of her dragons just gets killed out of nowhere, she just decides, alright, that's it, I'm going after her, I don't care. Just all of a sudden going after somebody that you've only met once? And then just flying off the handle, going, yes, I am the warrior. I am going to stop all bad in this bit. The wheel, I am going to stop bit. I am not going to settle for this. What? But Cersei was all that was left. You knew that as long as you attacked with a thinking mind, you could destroy her. You won that battle in minutes. And then you just fly off the handle because you just can't get over seeing your friend? Or maybe because you're still upset that people like Jon more than you, but they lived with Jon. They know what he's like. You yourself said they don't know you. Yes, I would be annoyed at that, but I would be lonely. And then you just, oh my god, just... How the hell did you F up that character so bad and then make her no better than her father, which we oddly never see on screen at all, and then her, the younger of her 2 brothers, even though that brother, I swear, is older than her, and then what little we know of that other brother of hers, yeah, like, how does that brother really pry into this? Because, okay, I am not an expert in Game of Thrones, more accurately, Westeros mythology, okay? I am not an expert in this by any stretch of the imagination, okay? Yes, I did own the first book about 10 years ago, okay? But I never read any of it. Life got in the way, and you get the idea. So my entire exposure to this world has been this show, and I haven't watched a single special feature because something told me that I shouldn't do that and I should instead watch this whole thing first, and then on my second run through with people giving me pointers, then I start learning stuff. Okay, I honestly don't think I'm going to check out the prequel show, but who knows? Maybe when that show concludes and then I see how it'll tie into this mythology a little bit more, maybe I will. But I am not an expert, okay? But just, I felt like that there's just something more to that brother other than the fact that he was just the other, person that loved Ned Stark's sister. Even though Varys makes an excellent point that all of this is because Robert Baratheon couldn't keep it in his pants. That's not literally everything, but the bulk of it definitely lasts with him, because what did the Night King do in this? Nothing. He's just an extra bad guy in the scheme of things, okay? Okay? The Mad King, something was going to happen eventually during his reign. I guess Robert Baratheon got there first, based on, just the analogy to the Roman Empire and what I know about emperors getting overthrown there various times over the years. It's just nuts. But it's just yeah, I do get why people don't like this season, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you can ignore the elephant in the room with the complete bastardizing of Daenerys Targaryen's story arc, okay? If you can ignore that, everything else I think was fine. Oh, sure, it's all of a sudden the killing of Maleficent and the Green Dragon, okay? But there were too many power play years left. Now, I know that I said that there were only 4, so power players was a bad word. There were too many main characters left in this show. This is the last season. Some people are going to have to drop. Okay? Okay, those characters getting killed unceremoniously. Yeah, that fits in line with the show. Robb was killed unceremoniously. Catelyn Stark was killed unceremoniously. Her sister was killed kind of suddenly, but it was like, oh, and it fit. You had to lose people. So Jorid, it makes sense that he dies. Both for driving Daenerys insane, and even if you didn't do that, to her losing her oldest ally the whole time, it works. You had to kill somebody. That priest guy and the fire priestess, every bit of that story arc was built that they would die eventually. The Hound. I thought it was stupid that they brought him back, but the way that he ended up going out, even though I wish I could remember how that other guy plays into it. Yes, he's in season 6, and he's the guy who was in the fight for Tyrion's second trial by combat, but I can't help but think that the person that the Hound was against in the first season might have been him too. I don't remember, but ending something that had gone all the way back to the first season of the show, maybe? So yeah, it worked out in the end, bringing back Gendry, thank God! So that takes care of every character that had been basically written out of the show, then you bring them back. Yeah, what you did with Jon's uncle Benji was kind of a waste, but okay, fine. Yeah, he went out for a purpose. So, but just some of these killings, it was fine. Yes, Varys' death, that was handled bad, but at the same time, it caused unease amongst the good guys. And hasn't Varys been willing to question everybody? Yes, this is out of character. The actor himself said that, but I felt like a character doing this, it had to be done. It's unfortunate that they ended up doing it in that way, just that suddenly. He goes from pitching an idea to getting killed in 10 minutes? What's up with that? Just what is up with that? It's just crap. That was crap. Not the evolution of the story arc, but the pacing of it, it sucked. You could have done it justice, but you did it way too quick. Like Daenerys going crazy, yeah. Yes, she was getting uneasy, yeah. Yes, she was starting to do things that made people not trust her as much. Getting rid of Varys, that actually added to that. So it makes sense, but just setting her that insane, just... Like, how the heck did Emilia Clarke even get to the point where she was okay with this? Just like, how could you convince her of that? I don't get it. It's a weakness of her, right? But to go that nuts... Yeah. But getting back to my original point, I know I went off on a tangent there, but losing the dragon, losing Malazan, and then the way that and then killing off Jaime and Cersei. Well, yeah, it was kind of expected that you would get rid of Cersei, and that probably Jaime would die with her, but again, you had to lose people. There were just too many main characters. People had to die, okay? And yes, it is kind of a disappointing ending. No one knew that she died except for Tyrion. Who knows what he did with the bodies, but I mean, like, it's not like he can drag them. I mean, those corpses weigh more than he does, so... Yeah. But still, though, at the same time, yeah, it's disappointing. Yeah, there's no justice done for her. She dies unceremoniously. But the thing is, ever since the first episode, you saw that the hidden side of her was the fact that even though she's married to the king, she's actually in love with her brother. And as Jaime said in that first episode, the things I do for love. Well, didn't he demonstrate that? Because what they did with him in this season, I actually really like. Because last season, he's looking at Cersei, the queen, going, "You're crazy, okay? You're completely ignoring the real threat here." And even then, I was out there with our best men, tackling Daenerys and her with the Dothraki and the dragon. We were wiped out within minutes. What he leaves unsaid is that even if she just had one of those things, it probably would have been enough. Okay, and yeah, it just... He knew that she was crazy and that she was ignoring the real threat. She keeps saying it's Daenerys that's the threat, which is what everyone was saying in season 1, but then forgot about. But he knew what the real threat lie, and decided, I'm going to do something that is completely reckless, and by our rights I shouldn't do, but it's the right thing to do. What? He leaves his sister. He rides north, knowing that they'll probably cut his head off first chance they get. They almost do. What? But he convinces them that he's there for a just purpose. He aids them, and he does great out there. He earns the respect, albeit reluctantly, of literally everybody there. When again, they still have reason to rip his throat out. But they don't. Because he proved himself to be a man of honor, even though he did say, "Yes, I pushed you out of a window, Bran, because you saw me with my sister. If I was back there, would I do it again? Yes. But I don't want this kingdom to be demolished." So he takes care of it. He then makes peace with the few people that he wasn't able to directly take care of things with, including Lady Brienne. They finally take care of that tension that's been between them for almost this whole show, But then, when push comes to shove for the last battle, he knows who's going to win, and he tells them, "All right, well, Lady Brienne, we all know how this is going to end. And I know what I have to do." Because even though he and Lady Brienne, they did it, he doesn't love her, he just had that thing there. Had Cersei not been in the picture, maybe something could have happened. Maybe. But his heart was always with Cersei. So this time, knowing that it's going to end bad for her, and that there's no chance of her winning, he doesn't take the moral ground this time. He follows his heart, and again risks his life to get after her. And they almost make it out. Had they been a couple of minutes faster, Daenerys been slower, who knows? They actually might have been able to get away from there. It didn't work. But you saw Cersei's reaction when she saw him. She's happy to see him, but that isn't the normal kind of happy. Just the way that they were with each other in that moment, that's not brother and sister. That's two people who genuinely love each other. And as the actors playing them stated, they didn't like the thing originally, but then over time they came to realize, this is great. They came into the world together, then they leave it together. So, I think I'm in the minority where I say, actually, that was great what they did. And then Lady Brienne, she chooses to honor Jaime. Granted, she only does the couple-sentence summary in that book, but she's choosing to preserve the good side. Died defending his queen. Which queen? She doesn't say. But he did defend both of them over the course of the season. For entirely different reasons, and it's actually the wrong reasons morally for Cersei, but I get it. He knew what was going to happen. He knew most likely he goes for Cersei, he's not going to survive it. He did it anyway. He's not a good person. But I get it. And when you saw Tyrion, because yes, he's more crying about Jaime rather than Cersei, but they were his family. And now he's the only one left. And he'll probably be it. Because, based on what he's done, yes, he might find somebody down the line, but they're never going to have kids. You just know that. So, yeah, sorry, dude. But, you can't fake that. So yeah, again, Jaime, he's not a good guy, but I can't help it. Yeah, and so see, she did get what she was coming to her, but I'm glad that she and him were together at the end. Very good. Okay. What else is there to talk about? Let's see here. Well, the aftermath, I guess I might as well talk about that. Well, again, how they handled Daenerys is bad. And then Jon giving up a lot of that stuff that he had working out for him. Again, yes, he doesn't want the Iron Throne, but after everything you did, like, yeah, you really are lucky that the Westeros people didn't really execute you. I mean, like, to be fair, everyone besides, I know this isn't his real name, Grey Worm, everyone besides him would agree that they knew why he did it. But, man, I really hate that they did that. Now, hold on. The literal end of Jon's story arc, okay, that end, I have no problem with. Because they could have easily had Daenerys take over the throne. Jon, yes, he could have become king in the north, but he's like, I have no actual claim to this now. I am not related to Ned Stark at all. Well, he is, just not the way he thinks. So, so Sansa by default, blood and merit, would end up being ruler of Westeros and the North anyway. Yeah. So him going back to the Night's Watch, right back where he started, did. It's fitting for him, but then you see all the wildlings there. Yes, you don't see anyone from the actual Night's Watch there. The position is basically useless because now the wildlings are now in good relations with the North, but at the same time, there is a barrier to the Westeros kingdom anyway. You always need some kind of godship there, even if you're on good relations with the people there. There's plenty of people that monitor actions along the US and Canada border, despite the fact that the US and Canada have great relations, no problems whatsoever. I don't know what it's like in Europe, but you seriously don't think that there's people manning the French and German border, even though the two countries, I think, are in perfect relation to each other, not caring at all what happened 3 generations back? Yeah. And there's still enough kids left alive that remember the fallout from all that stuff in France and Germany. You think they still do that? No. Yeah. So, yeah, him going on beyond the wall there, reuniting with his direwolf, which I think is the last one because they never really did show what happened with Arya's, but that's deliberate. Him going out there, that's a fitting end for Jon. Going to where there's no king, just finally able to live a life for him. No one to tell him what to do, no one to, respect, just people. No titles, no nothing. And all the people there, they respect him. They're like, yeah, we don't care about these politics down there. You were the one that, even though you betrayed us at multiple times, and you killed a lot of us, you still saved us. You proved your worth to us. Yeah, we want you here. What more could he ask for? He never wanted a title. He just wanted respect. He didn't want the shame that he'd been feeling his whole life. Even though that shame was to protect him. He knows that. Ned Stark wasn't his father, but he loved him the way that a father would. It was somewhat misguided, but do I think that he intended to tell Jon that the person that he believes was his aunt was actually his mother, and the person that he believed was his father was his uncle? I think he meant it. He sent Jon to the Night's Wall not out of shame, but to save him. Yeah. The hardest thing a parent or somebody like a parent can do is to recognize you've grown up and send them away. Or to say, even though I can still do more with you, you're better off in this other situation. That's what my dad did with me. Because that's why I lived with my uncle for a few years there. Huh? Right, but minus his role with Daenerys, what they do with Jon, that's fine. Nah. Sansa, she got what she wanted all along. Not the way that she expected, but she's been through the ringer. She hated going through it, but she appreciates what it did for her. As has been many people said this season. Nah. If this hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here now. Yeah, she hates the fact that she lost almost her entire family, but she gets respect. She's in charge of the North, and that's enough for her. Everyone has faith in her, including herself. She's not the spoiled brat anymore. Congratulations to her. I never would have expected that. Arya, she's a force to be reckoned with. Sure, she only used all of her traits through this show as revenge, and half the people on her list got killed without her, but what the Hound did in order to save her, it showed that he had a heart, and it helped her realize it's not about revenge. If we stay focused on revenge, I'm going to end up no better than him. I have a chance now, to do something. So she chooses to uproot herself. Just go out and see the world. Be brave. Odds are she's going to perish on an expedition, either because of malnutrition or saving everyone else. But she accepts that. She doesn't want to be Lady Arya Stark whatever. She wants to be Arya Stark. And that's it. Yeah. Bran, he didn't want it, but as Tyrion points out, maybe it should be those that don't want it that get it. You're the free-eyed raven. You can give people guidance and leave a better impression for the next generations. Bran sees the merits, and then he goes with it, but then he brings Tyrion in there, saying, yes, you don't deserve it, which is why you're going to spend the rest of your life digging yourself out of the hole for everyone else. Tyrion doesn't think he'll be able to do it, but he accepts it. Just wow. And then Bronn, yeah, his behavior was stupid this season, but he did make it clear he was not going to participate in the big battle. He was going to chicken out with Cersei's side, kill Jaime. He never got the opportunity to do that, and then just hide. But he got what he wanted. But then, rather than retreat and just be the slob, with whore girls all over him, even though he's still going to be doing that, he actually decides, you know what? What? All right, I'll step up. I'll be the noble man, but that's one word, not two, because if it's two words, it means that he's following some kind of moral compass to help people out. If it's one word, that means that he's just choosing to be part of the administrative class. Yes, he's more after himself, but at the same time, you do get the attitude that he's going to help out for a while. That future that I painted out for him, it could still happen, but something tells me he'll walk the fine line, and it'll be fine in the end. No one's perfect, Then Sam, Sir Davos, the other people, they made it work. It's fine. So, if you can ignore that elephant in the room, even though it's one hell of an elephant, if you can ignore what they did with Daenerys, actually, it's fine. Okay? The second half. The first half is just a continuation from last season. Ends that season fine. If you just ignore what happened with Daenerys, it was a good product. A decent way to end it. It ends fine, but the way that we got there and just the fastness of what you did, just... Even though I wouldn't be too surprised if Martin had considered doing quite a lot of this, because has Martin ever once said anything truly negative about the show? He hasn't. And here's the thing. There's nothing stopping him. Okay? George Lucas, he says that Disney effed up Star Wars. He's perfectly free to say whatever he wants to about that. Okay? The reason that I'm not as annoyed as him is because I have every faith and confidence that Star Wars is going to be rebooted eventually, so the Disney stuff will just be one story. Yeah, and that's it. But, again, he could easily say bad things to the producers of this show. He's chosen not to. he hates fan fiction, okay? He considers it copyright infringement, but here's the thing. He hasn't gone to fanfiction.net and told them don't allow fanfictions for my work. Now, I am all but certain that the reason that he's doing it is because not every fanfiction website, Fanfiction Archive of Our Own, Live Journal, Wattpad, and I'm sure there's one other big one that I'm missing. Not every fanfiction website has a system to where people will patrol the site to make sure that there aren't works being done for a certain work of media. But even then, there's chat websites where people can just post stories in there and then that takes care of that. And just, you can't stop fan fiction. But he's been outwardly critical of it. Given how the show outpaced his own writing, couldn't you argue in many ways that there's fan fiction being done in here by the showrunners? I think so. Walking Dead. The show the franchise has outlived the comics, but the comics were only ever telling one big story. Fear the Walking Dead, the sequel miniseries featuring certain characters from the show, the anthology show where Terry Crews is in one episode. All of that is extra stuff that is being done with the show creators, but it's still getting the stamp of approval from the original comic book creator. And while the original show was on, they were doing all kinds of things because, okay, I know for a fact, I'm going to keep it anonymous, but if you've either read the Walking Dead comics or seen the entire Walking Dead show, this is a big spoiler for what I'm going to be saying if you haven't done the other medium, okay? I know for a fact that the last character that we see in the Walking Dead comics gets killed off about 2/3 of the way through the show. What? And if anyone goes spoiler, I warned you. What? You cannot argue that I did not warn you. What? You. That's a significant deviance. The creator of the comics has no problem with this. If George R. R. Martin had a problem with this, he would have said so. He has literally no reason to not do it. The show is over now. It's been over for nearly 5 years. I'm that late to the party. He could have said, I don't want any spin-offs being done for this product. He chose not to. So he could easily have some grievances with this, but he's not the type of person I think that would keep this to himself. So, to all you trying to say, hey, remake this, well, more accurately, remake the last 3 episodes, it's not going to happen. Nah. That's just the end of it. If you really want to come up with a headcanon where Daenerys doesn't go crazy, Cersei and her army surrenders, but then Jaime is able to convince her to hide with him anyway, and no one hears from them again, and then Daenerys realizes that because of Jon's claim to the throne, no one will ever accept her as a king, so she, the Dothraki, the Unsullied, depart back east anyway and continue where they left off, and then because of the tangled history, Jon refuses the Iron Throne, and then Bran is elected anyway. If you really want to go for that headcanon, then go ahead. Or kill off Jaime and Cersei in that equation if you really want to. Go right ahead, but this is what we got to deal with, people. So, Am I disappointed? Yes, but again, if you ignore that elephant, everything else is fine. So, there we are. Good up until the last few episodes. Again, it's a bummer that I don't think George R. R. Martin's going to finish the book series. Why? It's just a gut feeling, as I've said. I do think that he'll finish the Winds of Winter book, but the Dream of Spring book, I don't think he'll ever finish that. Although I do hope that eventually the producers at some point will get into some kind of agreement with his estate after he passes to where they'll show us the outline that he gave them when it became clear that the show was going to outpace the books. Because it's one thing to not let anyone finish, but to share what he shared with the producers, if that eventuality comes to pass, I really would hope that his estate does not regard that as doing too much, because it would help us understand some of the creative processing that happened here. Now, is that going to satisfy fans? Absolutely not. But it would still be nice to know what Martin was thinking. Enough. "36 minutes, damn. There you go.